fond of children. Except boys. My dear,
I'm sorry if I'm late.
stuff and nonsense.
And I've forgotten to bring the sonnet. Well, I've forgotten to print out the sonnet.
I see. The consequence of that is, I shan't take you to see my friend, Mr. No Memory, who lives in the Middle Hyde Park.
Who is he?
Mr. No Memory is a professor. He teaches lessons at forgetting at half a crown a lesson.
That sounds very expensive.
Ah, but you see, it's worth every penny. I've taken 6 lessons so far. After 3 lessons, I forgot my own name, and I forgot to go for the next lesson. So, the professor said I was catching on quite well. But I hope, he added, you won't forget to pay for the next lesson. I told him that would depend on how good he was. And do you know the next lesson was so good, I forgot everything. I forgot my name, I forgot to eat dinner, and so far I've quite frankly forgotten to pay the man.
So, he's not that expensive.
I'm very impressed with him. I intend to go back when the time comes to forget you. Let's have some music. I'd ask you to dance, but I'm afraid I never dance. Unless I'm allowed to do so in my own peculiar way.
And what is that like?
I'm afraid it's no use trying to explain it. The last house I did it in, the floors broke right through. And the beams are only 6 inches thick. No. When any dance here in my peculiar kind is to be done, stone arches are much more sensible. It's a pretty tune, even when it is standing on its head. Shall we get on with the story?
Oh, yes, please.
Let's see, where had we got to?
Alice, she followed the white rabbit down the rabbit hole, but she wasn't hurt, and she just ran right after him.
Down a long, long
Corridor.
passage.
And then what happened?
What happened?
To the rabbit.
Oh, he disappeared, vanished into thin air. And she came upon a small round table, and she found a bottle on the table with a label tied around the neck of it, which read,
Drink me?
so what do you suppose Alice did?
She drank it.
Now, was that quite wise?
Yes.
Suppose the bottle was marked poison.
Oh.
There's some very simple rules in life, and it's always as well to remember them. For example, if you hold a red hot poker, it will burn you. If you cut your finger with a knife, it usually bleeds. And if you drink from a bottle marked poison, it's almost certain to disagree with you.
Is it marked poison?
No. As a matter of fact, it isn't. What does it taste of?
Cherry tart.
Roast turkey,
Toffee.
hot buttered toast.
Ew.
Curiouser and curiouser.
What?
As soon as Alice had finished drinking, she started to feel herself grow. She grew and grew and grew, and eventually she had grown so tall, she could hardly see her feet. My, you're not even Alice anymore. Who are you?
Well, I'm sure I cannot be Ada because her hair goes in ringlets. And I'm pretty sure I cannot be Mabel.
Why not?
Because Mabel doesn't know anything. And I know all sorts of things.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
What's 4 times 2?
13.
Is London the capital of Paris?
Yes.
I think you might be Mabel.
I can't be.
And why not?
Because if I was, then I'd have to go and live in that pokey little house.
So you would?
And have next to no toys to play with.
Sing the song I taught you.
How doth the little?
That's right.
How doth the little
crocodile
busy
improve his shining
each
sail,
shining hour
and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale.
Why are you singing
Next
it?
verse.
How skillfully she suits
grin,
herself,
how neatly spread his clothes,
What?
and welcomes little fishes in with gently smiling jaws.
Those are not the words that you taught me.
Oh dear, I'm afraid you must be Mabel.
I'm not. Can I please get down now?
Are you crying?
No!
Of course. Growing is always such a terrible sadness.
I am not crying!
I'm glad. A size like yours, the consequences could be catastrophic.
Please, may I get down?
I don't know if that's possible. But I think I may have something in my pocket. Look around you. What can you see?
It's a cake.
And what does it say on the cake?
Eat me?
So what do you suppose Alice did?
I am shutting up like a telescope.
A narrow escape.
At least I know that I'm Alice.
When Alice had finished the cake, she started to grow smaller. She grew smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually there was trouble. And the trouble was, she was in danger of all those tears she had wept when she was 9 feet high. Can you imagine what that must feel like? Drowning in your own tears.
The first question, of course, is to find a way to get dry.
Oh, I have a suggestion.
And I have a better suggestion.
How do you know your suggestion is better?
Because I'm older, and I must know better.
How old are you?
It's very rude to ask people their age.
Everybody's to sit down and listen to me. I'll make you dry. Come on. Now, are you ready? This is the driest thing I know. William the Conqueror, whose cause was favored by the Pope, was soon submitted to by the English, who wanted leaders. Edwin and Morcar, the earls. Did you speak?
Not I.
I thought you did. I proceed. Edwin and Morcar, the earls of Mercia and Northumbria, declared for him, and even Stigand, the patriotic Archbishop of Canterbury, found it advisable.
Found what?
Found it. I suppose you know what it means.
I know what it means when I find a thing. It's generally a frog or a worm.
How are you getting on, my dear?
Oh, I'm still as wet as ever. This is not drying me at all.
Well, in that case, I move that this meeting be adjourned for the immediate adoption of more energetic room.
Speak English. I don't know half of those words, and I don't think you do either.
Language is worth 1,000 pounds a word.
Well, what I was trying to say was the best way to get us dry will be a caucus race.
What is a caucus race?
The best way to explain it is to do it. Come on. Hey, come on, sing I ain't getting up.
Wait a minute. She must have a prize as well.
I'm okay.
Say, what you got there in your pocket?
It's a thimble.
Hand it here. Please accept this elegant thimble. I'm a gentleman. Now, tell me, what sort of insects do you rejoice in where you're from?
Oh, I don't rejoice in insects at all. In fact, I'm actually rather quite afraid of them.
Aren't there any that you like?
I'm pretty fond of butterflies.
If you look down by your foot, you'll observe a bread and butterfly. Its wings are slices of bread and butter. Its body is a crust, and its head is a lump of sugar.
What does it live on?
Weak tea with cream.
Well, what if it didn't have any?
Well, then it would die.
Well, then that must happen quite often.
It happens all the time.
You don't need to take it so seriously. It's only a joke.
I don't think that you should make jokes if they make you so unhappy.
My story is very sad and long.
Oh. What's sad about it?
Fury said to a mouse that he met in the house, "Let us both go to law, I will prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial. We must have a trial, for really this morning I've nothing to do." Said the mouse to the cur, "Such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge would be wasting our breath." "I'll be judge, I'll be jury," said cunning old Fury. "I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death." You're not paying attention?
I'm very sorry.
You're not paying attention?
What's the matter?
See if I catch that button.
What's the matter? I didn't really understand the race.
I can think of a great many races which are even more difficult to understand. The human race, for example.
Why did they leave Alice all on her own?
I don't know, but it made her very sad, lonely, and low-spirited. And of course, she was still far too young. So, she set off, struggling through the blades of grass, until she came upon a large mushroom, the same height as herself. But then, she got on her tiptoes and peeped over the edge of it and saw a blue caterpillar.
And who are you?
Well, I know who I was when I got up this morning.
Explain yourself.
I can't explain myself, I'm afraid, sir, because I'm not myself, you see?
I don't see, darling.
Well, it's very confusing.
It isn't.
Perhaps you haven't found it so, but if you should turn into a butterfly, I think that you'd find it a little queer.
Not a bit.
Well, it would be really queer to me.
Sweetie, who are you?
I think the question is, who are you?
Why? Come back! Come back! Keep your temper.
Is that all?
No. So you think you changed, do you?
Yes. I can't seem to keep the same size for 10 minutes at a time.
Well, that's not right.
Not quite right, I'm afraid.
It is wrong from beginning to end, sweetie.
What size do you want to be?
Well, I'm not particular. As long as I don't have to change so often, you know?
I don't know. Are you content now?
I would like to be a little larger. 3 inches is just such a wretched height.
It is a very good height indeed.
Yes, but I'm not used to it.
Darling, you'll get used to it in time. Okay? One side will make you taller, and the other side will make you shorter. Of the mushroom. Okay?
Of course, there was a difficulty.
And what was that?
If a mushroom is perfectly round, how can you tell which side is which?
I suppose you would stretch your arms around and take a piece opposite one another, and then you would
Experiment! Precisely. That's precisely what she did. Until she was successful in bringing herself back to her usual size. Then, on she went until she came upon a house with a frog dressed as a footman sitting outside of it.
There's no use knocking. First, I'm on the same side of the door as you are. Secondly, they're making such a noise inside, no one could possibly hear you.
But how am I to get in?
I mean, if you were inside and you knocked, I could let you out. But that's not gonna happen.
How am I to get in?
I shall stay here till tomorrow. Or even the next day.
But how am I to get in?
Are you to get in at all? That's the first question.
It's enough to drive one crazy.
I shall sit here for days and days and days.
But what am I to do?
Anything you like.
Ew. You know you put too much pepper in that soup. Why does your cat grin like that?
It's a Cheshire cat, and that's why. Pig.
Well, I didn't know that cats could grin.
They all can, and most of them do.
I don't know of any that do.
You don't know much, and that's a fact.
Please! Mind what you're doing!
If everyone minded their own business, the world would go around a great deal faster!
That wouldn't be an advantage, you see? The Earth takes 24 hours to spin on its axis.
Talking of axes, chop off her head! Don't bother me! I never could abide figures. Speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. He only does it to annoy because he knows it teases. Okay, you nurse it. I have to go and get ready to play croquet.
Please, I don't know how to nurse a pig. A cat. Whoa! Oh no! Where do I go from here? Where do I go from here?
That depends a great deal on where you want to get to.
I don't much care.
Then it doesn't matter where you go.
As long as I get somewhere.
Well, you're sure to do that. If you only walk long enough.
Well, what kind of people live around here?
Well, in that direction lives a March Hare. And in that direction lives a Hatter. Visit whichever you like. They're both mad.
Oh, I don't want to be among mad people anymore.
But you can't help it. We're all mad. I'm mad. You're mad.
How do you know that I'm mad?
You must be. Or you wouldn't be here.
No room, no room, no room, no room! Oh! There's plenty of room!
Take some wine.
I don't see any wine.
There isn't any.
Well, it wasn't very civil of you to offer it then.
It isn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited.
The table is laid for a great many more than just 3.
Your hair wants cut.
Oh! It's really rude to make personal remarks.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
I believe that I can guess that.
Do you mean you think you can find the answer to it?
I do.
Then you should say what you mean.
Well, I mean what I say. Isn't that the same thing?
Not a bit. You might as well just say, I see what I eat, which is the same thing as, I eat what I see.
You might as well say, I like what I get. It's the same thing as, I get what I like.
You might just as well say, I breathe when I sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe.
In your case, it is. What day of the month is it?
It's the 4th.
2 days wrong. I told you butter wouldn't suit the works.
It was the best.
Butter.
You spread it with the bread knife. You must have got crumbs on it.
It was the best butter.
The dormouse is asleep again.
Of course, just what I was going to remark myself.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
I give up. What's the answer?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Nor I.
Don't you have better things to do with time than wasting it asking riddles without an answer?
I dare say you've even spoken to time.
I know that I have to beat time in my music lesson.
That accounts for it. He won't stand beating, and if you're on good terms with him, he'd do almost anything you like.
So is that how you manage?
Oh no. We'll progress along. Just before he went mad, and ever since then, time won't do a thing I ask. It's always 6 o'clock.
Is that why there are so many tea things set out?
That's right. It's always tea time. I said it's always tea time.
Tea time.
And we have no time to wash up.
So you just keep going around.
Exactly so.
Okay, and then what happens when you come right back to the
Perhaps
beginning?
we changed the subject. I'm tired of this. Did you have fun in prison, dear child? Oh. Tell us a story.
I don't know a story.
Perhaps the dormouse?
Wake up!
I wasn't asleep. I heard every word you fellows were saying.
Tell us a story.
And be quick about it, or you'll be asleep before it's finished.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little sisters, and they lived at the bottom of a well.
What did they live on?
Treacle.
No, they would have been ill.
So they were very ill.
Okay, so why did they live at the bottom of a well?
She's doing it again! If you do that once more, I'll have you buttered. Crazy? Take some more.
I haven't had any, so I can't take more.
What you mean is you can't take less.
Nobody asked your opinion.
Now who's making personal remarks?
Why did they live at the bottom of a well?
It was a treacle well.
There's no such thing.
If you can't be civil, you'd better finish the story yourself.
No. Please, go on. I will not interrupt again.
All right. So, these 3 little sisters, they were learning to draw.
What are you...
Treacle.
All right, I want a clean cut. Let's all move on. Are you deaf? Let's go!
So, tell me, how did they draw treacle?
They drew water from a water well, so obviously you drew treacle from a treacle well.
Stupid. Okay, well, I thought that they were in the well.
Of course they were. Well in. And they drew all sorts of things. Anything beginning with an M.
Why with an M?
Why not? Yes, such as mousetraps and the moon and memory and muchness. Ever seen a drawing of a muchness?
I actually don't think that you
Then
can
you
draw-
should have talked.
This is the stupidest tea party I've ever been to in all of my life!
My watch!
Go, go!
Who is this?
It's you?
Once upon a time, there was someone called Bob the Bat. Do you know where he lived?
In the top right-hand drawer of the drawing desk.
And why is a raven like a writing desk?
I have not the slightest idea.
Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder what you're at. Do you know this one?
I know something like it.
Up above the world you fly, like a tea tray in the sky.
Do cats eat bats?
Next question.
Well, what happened next?
Well, what do you think happened?
Perhaps she went to watch the Duchess playing croquet?
She did. Not only that, she took her flamingo and her hedgehog.
What?
There were soldiers doubled up, standing on their hands and feet to make arches. The croquet mallets were flamingos, and the balls, hedgehogs.
My dear, makes you forget to talk. I can't tell you what the moral of that is, but I shall remember in a moment.
Perhaps there isn't one.
Really, child, everything's got a moral.
Looks like the game is going well.
'Tis so, and the moral of that is, 'tis love, that makes the world go round.
Well, somebody once said, it's done by everybody minding their own business. Achoo!
Much the same thing. And the moral of that is, take care of the scent and the sounds will take care of themselves. Oh, I dare say you're wondering why I don't put my arm around your waist. The reason is, I'm doubtful about the temper of your flamingo.
Yeah, he might bite.
Flamingos and mustard both bite. And the moral of that is, birds of a feather flock together.
But mustard isn't a bird.
Right. As usual.
It's a mineral, I think.
Of course it is. There's a large mustard mine near here. And the moral of that is, the more there is of mine, the less there is of yours.
Or is it a vegetable?
Absolutely.
Well, it doesn't look like one.
I couldn't agree more. And the moral of that is, be what you would seem to be. Or, to put it more simply, never imagine yourself not to be otherwise than what it might appear to others. That what you were or might have been was not otherwise. Then what you have been would have appeared to not to be otherwise.
I think I would understand it better if you had it written down.
That's nothing to what I could say if I chose.
Pray, don't trouble yourself.
Don't talk to me about trouble. I make a present for you of everything I said as yes.
Well, please don't give that to me as a birthday present.
Take yourself off, and not about half no time. Go on. Go. Did you say birthday present?
I did.
Well, I may as well tell you a few of the things I like. That way, whenever you want to give me a birthday present, you'll know what to get me.
Well, when is your birthday?
Let me see. It comes once every 2 years on the 5th Tuesday in April. Okay. I like, very much indeed, a little beef with some mustard spread thinly under it. I also like brown sugar. Only it should have apple pudding mixed with it to keep the sugar from being too sweet. But perhaps what I like most of all is salt. With soup poured over it, and the soup is to hinder the sugar, the salt, from being too dry. And it helps melt it.
What kind of soup?
Mock turtle.
I don't know what's mock turtle.
Shall we head down to the beach?
And what other things do you like?
Pins, only they should have cushions put around them to keep them warm. And I like 2 or 3 handfuls of hair, only they should have little girls' head underneath them to grow upon. Or else, once you open the door, they go flying all over the room and get lost, you know.
Oh, what is his sorrow?
He has no sorrow. He's a mock turtle. This lady wants to know your history.
I'll tell her. Sit down. Once I was a real turtle. Can I get an amen? Amen. No, y'all ain't. Let me go on this side. I said, can I get an amen? Amen. There we go. When we were little, we went to school in this seat. We had a master. His name was Tortoise.
Why?
We called him Tortoise because he taught us. Really, you are very dull.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Drive on. Don't be all day about it.
Yes! Y'all may not believe this.
I never said that I did it.
You did.
Hold your tongue.
We had the best of educations. In fact, Lord, in fact, we went to school every day. Thank you.
But I went to day school too.
With extras
Yes, French and music.
and washing.
Certainly not.
Oh, Lord, then yours wasn't a very good school. At ours, we had at the end of the bell, French, music, and washing.
You couldn't have needed it much being at the bottom of the sea and all.
Oh, nah. I couldn't afford it. I just took the regular courses.
What was that?
Reeling and rifling. You don't know nothing about that. And, you know, the different branches of arithmetic, ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision.
What is uglification? You don't know what uglification is? No.
You know what the beautifying is, don't you?
Yes.
Well, if you don't know what uglification is, you're a simpleton.
Also, there was mystery. Ancient and modern geography. Yes, Lord. Oh, great Lord. Drawing. The old drawing master was a conqueror who taught drawing, stretching, and fainting in chords.
What is that like?
And the griffin, he never learned it.
I had no time. I did go to the classical master, though.
No, I never went to him. He taught Latin and Greek, they used to say.
So he did.
How many hours a day did you do lessons?
10 hours the first day and 9 the next. Can I get an amen? Amen. Ooh, see, I like that. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
What a curious plan.
Well, they're called lessons. Every day they lesson.
Ooh, Lord, you preach.
So, was the 11th day like a holiday or something?
It was, of course. Enough about lessons.
As if he had a ball in his throat.
Sister. Perhaps you never lived much under the sea.
I have not.
So you have... Man. Lord.
I want to be a lobster.
Really?
I mean, no. I've never seen a lobster.
So you have no idea what a delightful thing a lobster quadrille can be. What?
No, indeed.
First, you form a line along the seashore.
A line. When you clear all the jellyfish out of the way,
Genuinely take some time.
you advance twice,
Each with a lobster.
set the partners,
change lobsters and retire.
Then you throw the
Lobster.
oh yes, as far as the sea as you can.
Swim after them.
Run a somersault, but I'm too old for that. And back to land.
It must be a very pretty song.
Would you like to hear some of it?
Yes, please.
No, we don't have these lobsters. Who shall sing?
Oh.
You see, sister. I forgot the words.
Will you walk a little faster? Said a whiting to a snail. There's a porpoise close behind us, and he's treading on my tail. See how we cover the lobsters and the turtles all in bonds. They are waiting on a shingle. Won't you come and join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you join the dance? You can really have no notion how delightful it will be when they take us up and throw us and the lobsters out to sea. The further off from England, the nearer is to France. So turn not, there'll be love it's now, but come and join the dance. Will you, won't you, will you, won't you join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you join the dance?
I kept my promise and came down to the sea to go with you along the rocks, but I saw you going with another gentleman, so I thought I was wanted. And I wandered about a bit.
You know what a whiting is, of course.
Yes. I've often seen them at dinner.
I don't know where dinner might be. But if you see them often, then you know what they're like.
Yeah, they have their tails in their mouth and they're covered in breadcrumbs.
No. You're wrong about the breadcrumbs.
Well, if I were the whiting, I would have told the porpoise to go away.
No wise fish would go anywhere without a porpoise.
Would you like him to sing you another song? Yes, if he would be so very kind.
There's no accounting for taste. Beautiful soup, so rich and green, waiting in a hot tureen. Who for such dainties would not stoop? Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Beautiful, beautiful soup. Soup, soup of the evening. Beautiful, beautiful soup. Soup of the evening. Beautiful, beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Oh, Lord. Beautiful soup.
When I got back, I couldn't find you. Though I did go a good way along the rocks to look. There was a child though, and she looked exactly like you, but when I got up to her, it was the wrong child. That wasn't her fault though, poor thing. So I helped her build her sandcastles, and I went on my way home. I didn't cry all the way. I did not believe I could take such pictures without any lower motive than a pure love of art, I would not ask it. And if I thought there was any fear of it lessening the beautiful simplicity of character, I would not ask it. Now comes my reason for hoping that you, Mrs. Mayhew, will give carte blanche as to dress. It is that I pay Mrs. Mayhew the compliment of believing that she states her real reason for objecting to the entire absence of drapery. Oh, the trouble I have had sometimes had with the ladies, who will give their fictitious reasons for such things, and when those break down, invent others until they are finally driven to speak the truth. But I don't believe this of Mrs. Mayhew. I feel pretty sure that neither she nor you would have admired as you have done all my studies of naked children, if you had objected on general principles to children ever being pictured in that condition. And therefore, I was really pleased to read in Mrs. Mayhew's note that her reason for objecting to absolute undress was because she felt sure that the children themselves would decidedly object. These words were very welcome, because I happened to feel sure that they would not only not decidedly object, but that they wouldn't object at all. For I had told them, and now I hope there is no harm in doing so, of the pictures I wished to take. But had said that, of course, Mrs. Mayhew must give leave before I could take them. Both Ruth and Ethel seemed quite sure that Janet wouldn't object in the least to being done naked. And Ethel, when I asked her if she would object, said in the most simple and natural way that she wouldn't object at all. I didn't ask Ruth. Now don't crush all my hopes by telling me that all Mrs. Mayhew said was merely a facon la colère, and that all the time that you, Mrs. Mayhew, object absolutely to the thing. If worse comes to worse and you won't concede any nudities at all, then please, I think you ought to allow all things to be done in bathing dresses to make up for my disappointment. I hope that Mrs. Mayhew won't mind my suggesting that I never photograph well when a large party comes. If Ruth and Ethel bring Janet, there really is no need for her to come as well. That is, if you can trust me to keep my promise of abiding strictly by the limits laid down. If you can't trust my word, then please, never bring or send any of the children again. I should certainly prefer, in that case, to drop the acquaintance. I get on pretty well with 3 people on the premises. Better, usually with 2. What I like best of all is to have 2 hours of leisure time before me, 1 child to be photographed, and no restrictions as to costume. It is a descending arithmetical series. 2, 1, 0.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Letter for Mr. and Mrs. Mayhew from Louis Cara.
Thank you. You may leave. Goodbye. Thank you. Alrighty. Dear Mrs. Mayhew, I hope you won't think me very fanciful in saying I should have no pleasure in doing any such pictures, now that I know I'm only permitted such a privilege on condition of being under chaperonage. I'd rather do no more pictures of your children except in full dress. Just now, for quite another reason, I feel so worried and anxious that I have no spare for doing more photographs, even of a kind, which I could do without a sense of not being trusted. I have no doubt I gave you the impression that if a child comes to me to be photographed and one more person comes, I would prefer that other person were another child and not the mother. I have no such feeling and therefore right to explain my real meaning, which I entirely failed to express viva voce. I don't at all object to having as many as 3 here at a time, though I like 2 better, and 1 best of all. But suppose 3 people come, 2 to be photographed and 1 more. It would be a matter of entire indifference to me whether that one other were a child or her mother, provided it were also so to her. But the fact that I have so unfortunately learnt that you consider your presence essential, which is the same as saying I cannot trust you, which has taken away all the pleasure I could have in doing any such pictures, and most of my desire to photograph them again in any way. It is not pleasant to know that one is not trusted. You said that you could, in conversation, explain away that disagreeable impression, and I was hoping, while you were talking this afternoon, that you would say something to show that I had made a mistake, but I fear there was nothing to say. I cannot tell you how sorry I am for the annoyance I have caused you by starting so unlucky a topic. Forgive my not having had those negatives printed. They are put away with my other old negatives, and the memories they recall are too disagreeable for me to care to get them out again.
Ginger beer or milk.
Well,
Otherwise, there's wine, beer, water, vinegar, oil, or ink.
I actually don't think that I want.
Or tea.
Yes, tea would be delicious.
By a remarkable coincidence, I believe the kettle has just boiled. Let's see.
Did Alice ever find her way into the garden?
She knew it was there, but every time she tried to get near it, it disappeared. Finally, it had occurred to her that if she could get on top of a hill, she might be able to pinpoint exactly where the garden was. But it hadn't been a minute until she came face to face with the Red Queen.
Nicely and don't twiddle your fingers all the time.
I'm afraid that I've lost my way.
I don't know what you mean by your way. All the ways about here belong to me. And why are you out here anyway? That's courtesy while you think what to say. It saves time. It's time for you to answer. Open your mouth a little wider when you speak and always say your majesty.
I only wanted to know what the garden was like. Your Majesty.
That's right. Though when you say garden, I could show you gardens, compared with which this would be a wilderness.
And I really wanted to know which is the best way to get to the top of that hill.
When you say hill, I could show you hills, and comparison with which you call that a valley.
No, that's actually nonsense.
You may call it nonsense, but I've heard nonsense. In comparison with which that be as sensible as a dictionary. Let's go.
Where are we going?
Don't talk.
Is everything?
Shut up!
Are we nearly there?
Nearly there? We passed it 10 minutes ago.
Everything is just as it was.
Of course it is.
Well, in our country, if you run very fast for a very long time, you usually get to somewhere else.
a slow sort of country. Here it takes all the running you could possibly do to keep in the same place. If you want to get somewhere else, you'll have to run at least twice as fast.
Oh, no. I'd rather not. I'm very thirsty.
Have a biscuit. Okay.
And while you're refreshing yourself, I'll just take the measurements.
At the end of 2 yards, I shall give you your directions. Oh, would you like another biscuit?
No, thank you.
That's quenched, is it? Now, at the end of 3 yards, I shall repeat your directions, in case you've forgotten them. And at the end of 4 yards, I shall say goodbye, and at the end of 5, I shall go. You make no remark?
I didn't know that I had to.
You should have said, it is extremely kind of you, your majesty. We'll suppose it said. When you can't think of the English word for a thing, speak in French. And always point your toes outward. And remember who you are. Goodbye.
If you think we're waxworks, you ought to pay.
Contrariwise, if you think we're alive, you ought to speak.
I am very sorry.
I know what you're thinking, and it isn't so, no how.
Contrariwise, if it was so, it might be, but as it isn't, it ain't.
I just want to know which is the best way to get out of this whip. Could you tell me, please? First boy.
No how.
Next boy.
Contrariwise.
We got about it all wrong. The first thing to do is to shake hands. La 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 la. 4 times enough.
I hope you're not tired.
No how. Thank you very much for asking.
Very much obliged. Do you like poetry?
Yes. Some. But first, I would just really like to know which is the best way to get out of this one.
The wolf and the carpenter. That's the longest.
If it's very long, couldn't you please first tell me?
The sun was shining on the sea, shining with all his might. He did his very best to make the billows smooth and bright. And this was very odd because it was the middle of the night. The moon was shining sulkily because he thought the sun had got no business to be there after the day was done.
It's very rude of him
She said,
to come and spoil the fun.
the sea was wet as wet could be, the sands were dry as dry. You could not see a cloud because there were no clouds in the sky. No birds were flying overhead, there were no birds to fly. The horse and the carpenter were standing close by hand. They wept like anything to see such quantities of sand.
And if this were only cleared away,
They said,
it would be good. If 7 maids with 7 months wept it for half a year, do you suppose
the walrus said.
that they could get it clear?
I doubt it.
The carpenter said and shed a bitter tear.
Oh, oysters, come and walk with us.
The walrus did beseech.
A pleasant walk along the briny beach. We cannot give more than 4 to give a hand to each.
The eldest oyster looked at him, but never a word he said. The eldest oyster winked his eye and shook his heavy head, meaning to say he did not choose to leave the oyster bed. But 4 young oysters hurried up, all eager for the treat. Their coats were brushed, their faces washed, their shoes were clean and neat. And this was odd because, you know, they hadn't any feet. 4 other oysters followed them, and yet another 4, and thick and fast they came at last, and more and more and more, all hopping through the frothy waves and scrambling to the shore. The walrus and the carpenter walked on a mile or so. And then they rested on a rock conveniently low, and all the little oysters stood and waited in a row.
The time has come
The walrus said,
to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and selling wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea's so boiling hot, and why the pigs have wings.
But wait a bit!
The oysters cried.
Before we have our chat, for some of us are out of breath and all of us are fat.
No, hurry.
Said the carpenter. They thanked him much for that.
A loaf of bread,
The walrus said.
is what we chiefly need. Pepper and vinegar, besides, are very good indeed. Now, if you're ready, oyster dear, we can begin to feed.
But not on us!
The oysters cried, turning a little blue.
After such kindness, that'd be a dismal thing to do.
The night is fine. Do you admire the view? It was so kind of you to come, and you are so very nice.
The carpenter said nothing but.
Cut another slice. I wish you weren't so deaf. I had to ask you twice.
It seems a shame
The walrus said.
to play them such a trick after we've made them trot so far and made them trot so quick.
The carpenter said nothing but.
The butter spread's too thick.
I weep for you.
The walrus said.
I deeply sympathize.
With sobs and tears he singled out those of the largest size, holding out his handkerchief before his streaming eyes.
Oysters, we've had a pleasant run. Should we be trotting home again?
But answer came there none. And this was scarcely odd because they'd eaten everyone.
What did you do? You ate everything! Look what you're making me do, stupid walrus! Oh my god!
I think I like the walrus best. Because he at least felt a little bit sorry for the oysters.
He ate more than the carpenter.
Then I like the carpenter best. If he didn't eat as many.
He ate as many as he could get.
Well, then I don't like either of them. What is that noise? Is it a lion?
It's the Red King snoring.
Come and look at him. Oh, I hope he doesn't catch a cold.
He's dreaming.
What do you think he's dreaming about?
Nobody can tell that.
He's dreaming about you. And if he'd left off, where do you suppose you'd be?
I would be where I am now.
No, you'd be nowhere because you're only a sort of thing in his dream.
If that third king was to wake up, you would go out bang like a candle.
No, I shouldn't. Besides, if I were only a thing in his dream, then what does that make you?
Ditto!
Ditto. Don't be so loud. You'll wake him.
How could you wake him if you're only one of the things in his dream? You know very well you're not real.
I am real.
It won't make you a bit realer by crying.
If I wasn't real, then I shouldn't cry.
I hope you don't think those are real tears.
I should get going. Do you think it's gonna rain?
Not under here, it isn't. No how.
But it's gonna rain outside.
It may if it chooses. We've no objection. Contrariwise.
What's that?
It's a broken rattle.
Oh! I knit! Ah!
You shouldn't get so upset about an old rattle.
It isn't old. Only bought it yesterday. It's my nice new rattle. Of course, you'd agree to have a battle.
I suppose so, provided she helps us find a sword.
Do I look very pale? I'm as brave as a rule. Only today, I've got a headache.
And I've got a toothache.
Then maybe you shouldn't fight today.
We must have a bit of a fight. What time is it?
4:30.
We'll fight till 6, then have dinner.
Very well. And she can watch us.
There's only one sword. You can have the umbrella.
You'd better not come too close. I hit everything I can see.
And I hit everything within reach, whether I can see it or not.
Well, don't you hit trees pretty often?
I don't suppose there'll be a tree left standing when we're finished.
And all of this about an old rattle?
I shouldn't have minded it. That'd been brand new. It's the crow!
Well, yes, if you call that a dressing, it isn't my notion of the thing at all.
If your majesty will tell me how to begin, I will do as best as I can.
But I don't want it done at all. I mean, I've been addressing myself for the last 2 hours.
May I put your shawl on straight for you?
Oh, I don't know what's the matter with it. It's out of temper. I've pinned it here, I've pinned it there, but there's no pleasing it.
And your hair is in a terrible state.
The brush got entangled in it and I lost the comb.
It's better. Don't you have a lady's maid?
I'll take you with pleasure. 2 pence a week and jam every other day.
I don't care for jam.
It's very good jam.
Well, I don't want any today.
You couldn't have it today if you did want it. That's the rule. Jam tomorrow and jam yesterday, but never jam today.
There has to be jam today sometime.
No! It's what I said. Jam every other day. And today isn't any other day.
It is dreadfully confusing.
Yes, well, that's the effect of living backwards.
Living backwards?
Yeah, the great advantage is one's memory works both ways.
My memory only works one way. I can't seem to remember things before they happen.
Poor sort of memory that only works backwards.
Well, what sort of things do you remember?
Oh, things that happen the week after next. The king's messenger, for instance. He's in prison now. His trial starts on Wednesday, and then, of course, he has to commit the crime.
Well, what if he doesn't?
All the better, what do you say?
Yes, it would be all the better, but it wouldn't be better if he hadn't committed the crime.
You're wrong there. Haven't you ever been punished?
Yeah, I've been punished, but I did the things that I was punished for. It makes all the difference.
But if you hadn't done those things, that would have been better still. Better and 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 better. My finger! My finger's bleeding! My finger!
Have you pricked your finger?
Not yet, but I'm about to.
Okay, when?
Now, see? That accounts for the bleeding.
Aren't you gonna scream now?
Why? I've done all the screaming already.
Oh. It's getting light out. I thought the night was coming on. I'm really happy.
I wish I could manage to be happy, only I could never remember the rules. You must be really happy living in this wood.
It's really lonely.
No. Consider what a great girl you are. Consider what a long way you've come. Consider what o'clock it is. Consider anything.
Can you stop crying if you consider things?
That's the way it's done. Nobody can do 2 things at once. How old are you? You don't have to say exactly. I can believe you without that. Now, I'll give you something to believe. I'm 101 5 months and a day.
I cannot believe that.
Can't you? Try again. Close your eyes. Deep breath. I dare say you haven't had much practice. Why, when I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Sometimes I believed in as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Try again. Close your eyes. Deep breath. Much better. Much better. Better and 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 better.
He looks exactly like an egg.
It's the most provoking thing to be called an egg.
Well, I only said you looked like
course it must. I mean, with a name like yours, it might be any shape.
Why do you sit here all alone?
Because there's no one else with me. Think I want to know the answer to that?
Aren't you afraid you're gonna fall?
You do ask tremendously easy riddles. Of course I don't think so.
Well, I once read in a book that
They might write such things in a book. Perhaps you'd like to shake hands with me. This conversation is getting a little too fast. Let's go back to the last part with one.
I don't think I can remember it.
Well, in that case, it's my turn. How old did you say you were? Wrong. You never said anything of the sort. 7.5. Uncomfortable sort of age. If you ask my advice, I would have said leave off at 7.
One cannot help but grow older.
One can't, perhaps, but what about 2? With proper assistance, you would have left off at 7.
You have a beautiful belt.
It's the most provoking thing when a person doesn't know a belt from a cravat.
I beg your pardon?
It's a cravat, child, and a beautiful one. As you say, a present from the White King and Queen. An un-birthday present.
I beg your pardon?
I'm not offended.
No, I just meant, what is an unbirthday present?
A present given to you when it is your birthday, of course.
I think that I like birthday presents best.
You don't know what you're talking about. How many days are there in a year?
365.
And how many birthdays have you?
1.
As to poetry, I can recite poetry, if it comes to that.
It does not have to come to that.
This piece is written entirely for your amusement.
Thank you very much.
In winter, when fields are white, I'll sing this song for your delight. Only, I don't sing it.
So I see.
You can tell whether I'm singing it or not. You're sharper eyes than those. In spring, when woods are green, I'll try to tell you what I mean.
Thank you.
In summer, when the days are long, perhaps you understand this song. In autumn, when leaves are brown, take pen and ink and write it down.
I will, if I can even remember it.
I see you admire my little box. It's my own invention for clothes and sandwiches. I carry it upside down so the rain can't get in.
But things can get out. Did you know that the lid was open?
Everything's fallen out. The box is no good without them.
Is this a beehive?
Yes, it's a very good beehive, but no bees have ever come near it. And this is a mousetrap. Maybe the mice keep the bees away.
It's not very likely that there'd be mice on a horse's back.
Not very likely, perhaps, but if they do come, I don't choose to have them running all about. It's as well to be provided. Come, help me up. I'll follow you to the end of the wood. Have you got your hair well fastened on?
Only in the usual way.
That's hardly enough. You see, the wind is so strong here, it's as strong as soup.
Oh, okay.
Things never fall upwards, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh! I don't think you've had much practice at riding.
What makes you say that? I've had plenty of practice. Plenty of practice. You see, the great art of riding is...
I hope no bones are broken.
None to speak of. I'm a great hand at inventing things, though. I've just invented a new way of getting over a gate. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, indeed.
I told myself the only issue is with the feet. the head is high enough already. So, if I put my head on top of the gate, then stand on my head, the feet are high enough, and I'm over.
Don't you think that's rather hard?
I haven't tried it yet. I believe the cleverest thing I ever did was create a type of pudding during the meat course.
And you had it in time for the next course.
Well, not the next course.
Then maybe the next day.
Well, not the next day. In fact, I don't believe that pudding was ever cooked.
What did you mean it to be made of?
Blotting paper.
That does not sound very nice.
Not on its own. It's what you mix it with. I must leave you now. You're sad. May I tell you a story to cheer you up?
Is it really long?
Yes, but it's very, very beautiful. Everybody hears me sing it. It either brings tears to their eyes, or else
What?
Or else it doesn't. You know, the name of the song is called Haddock's Eyes.
That's the name of the song, is it?
No, that's what the name of the song is called. You don't understand. The real name is The Aged Man.
So I should have said that's what the song is called?
No, the song is called Ways and Means, but that's only what it's called.
What is the song then?
I was getting to that. The real name is Sitting on the Gates. The tune's my own invention. I'll tell thee everything I can. There's little to relate. I saw an aged man sitting on the gates. Who are you, aged man, I said, and how is it that you live? His answer trickled through my head like water through a sieve. He said, I look for butterflies that sleep among the wheat. I make them into mutton pies and sell them in the streets. I sell them unto men who sail on stormy seas, and that's the way I get my tripe. My bread, a tripe if you please. But I was thinking of a plan to dye one's whiskers green, and always use so large a fan that they could not be seen. So, having no reply to give to what the old man said, I cried, Come, tell me, how is it that you live? And thumped him on the head. His accent's mouth took up a tail. He said, I go my ways, and when I find a mountain real, I set it in a blaze, and thence they make the stuff they call Rowland's Masker Oil. Yet 2 pence, halfpenny is all they give me for my toil. But I was thinking of a way to feed oneself on batter, and so I get on from day to day, getting a little fatter. I shook him well from side to side until his face was blue. Come, tell me, how is it that you live? I cried. And what is it that you do? He said, I hunt for haddock's eyes among the heathered rights. I work them into waistcoats buttons in the silent nights. And these I do not sell for gold or coin of silvery shine, but for a copper halfpenny, and that will purchase none. I sometimes dig for butter rolls or set limb twigs for crabs. I sometimes search grassy knolls for wheels of handsome cabs. And that's the way, he gave a wink, of which I get my wealth. And very gladly will I drink your honor's noble health. I heard him then, for I just completed my design, to keep the midnight bridge from wrath by boiling it in wine. I thanked them much for telling me the way he got his wealth, but chiefly his wish that he drink my noble health. And now, if ever by chance I put my fingers into glue, or madly squeeze a right-hand foot into a left-hand shoe, or if I drop upon my toe a very heavy weight, I weep, so it reminds me so of that old man that I used to know, whose look was mild, whose speech was slow, whose hair was whiter than snow, whose face was very like a crow, with eyes like cinders all aglow, who seemed distracted with his woe, who rocked his body to and fro, as if his mouth were full of dough, as he muttered mumbly and low, who snorted like a buffalo, that summer evening long ago, sitting on a gate. all the strange things that Alice saw, this was the one she remembered most clearly. Years afterwards, she could recall the whole scene again as if it had been only yesterday. The mild blue eyes and kind smile of the knights, the setting sun gleaming through his hair and shining on his armor in a blaze of light that quite dazzled her. The horse quietly moving about, cropping the grass at her feet, and the dark shadows of the forest behind. All of this she took in like a picture, as, with one arm shading her eyes, she leant against the tree and watched the strange pair listening in a half-dream to the melancholy music of the song.
Thank you. I like it very much.
I hope so. But, you didn't cry as much as I thought you would.